My grandmother passed earlier this year and she had a pretty nice jewelry collection. Before she passed she knew what went to who and had me meet to see what I'd like. Instead of jewelry I asked for her wedding dress. No one else wanted it, I had gotten married in it and she was really touched. After talking to her kids she went ahead and gave it to me before passing. When she did pass away I was surprised she hadn't written down who got what pieces. Since I had already passed on inheritance of the piece I didn't go to the meeting with the rest of the family. Basically they sat down and went oldest to youngest and let each person pick until there were no pieces. From what I heard it was peaceful and everyone was happy. Since I wasn't there they still wanted me to have something and picked a ring they thought had fake diamonds. It was the biggest and they assumed it was a diamond substitute. It was sweet of them to do that so I could have a piece of her every day too. When I got the ring I didn't examine it. It was big enough I thought it was fake too. But then I saw a diamond on the inside band, indicating Leo diamonds. I took it to get it evaluated and it has real diamonds. Its value is about 5k more than her next expensive piece, they had the papers on all of those. Essentially I got a nicer and more expensive piece than even her oldest daughter. But they chose it for me. Now, they want to redo the distribution. But I feel like it's fair. I didn't ask for anything, they gave me something anyways, now they realize the value of it and want it back. Am I the idiot if I refuse? Not the idiot. This is really distasteful that they're doing that. Honestly I think you made a mistake in informing them of the diamond's worth. Bad move, should have kept that to yourself. In the end I suppose you have to decide how much that is worth to you in the grand scheme of things and how it will affect your relationship with your family. I feel like you have the right to keep it, they gave it to you, and it's their own fault for not checking its value first. You're the idiot. It was misappraised by them and should be distributed fairly the way they planned. You got what you wanted, the dress. Don't let a trinket, even an expensive one, cause a rift in your family. You opted out of the expensive jewelry, you should hold yourself to that decision. Think of it this way, if a bank makes an error and accidentally puts money in your account, you can't spend it. You have to give it back. I know, seems wrong. That's the way it works though. Be cool, give the ring back and love the dress you got. Not the idiot. You didn't choose it for yourself, they chose it for you because they thought it was a cheap piece of costume jewelry and none of them wanted it. Now that you have found out its true value they want it back, well sorry, that's just tough. They thought it was rubbish, so that is the sole reason it was given to you, they only want it back to line their own pockets. It's the luck of the draw. I don't think you are required to hand it back, but I'm sure Judge Judy would love to hear the case. So, I'm the youngest of 5, and this mess only revolves around me, 29, my just older sis, 31, and our older bro, 36. 2 older sisters aren't part of this thankfully. Okay, so I currently live with my girlfriend at what was my grandma's home. But I bought said home from mom a bit back for cheap, the house wasn't pristine, and I've sunk a few thousand into it already, and it's looking better. Well, my mom lived in our childhood home with 31-year-old sis and bro for the last, forever. 2 oldest sisters live in diff states, YS and bro never moved out for longer than a year each before moving back. Both are absolute slobs who refuse to clean up after themselves. And they made our mom clean up after them. She couldn't stand mess and would clean just so she wouldn't have to live in filth. Eventually she, in her 60s, couldn't stand to live there anymore, so I asked her to come live with me. They essentially drove our mother out of her own home because they were slobs. Well, she lived with me happily, my house is clean and she didn't have to work and just enjoyed her time in the garden, but she passed away not too long ago. I've barely been coping because out of all of my siblings, I was closest with our mom. Our personalities just meshed well. Whereas my siblings didn't. She loved them, she wouldn't have cared for them for so long if she didn't, but they stressed her out unbelievably. Well, I found out our mom left her house to me only. She left each of my sibs some money but the house, and everything of hers in it is now mine. My sibs who live in that house didn't like it and pitched a fit. Said I manipulated mom at her weakest into getting the house, when they should have gotten it. I told them to go to hell, and the only reason it probably got left to me is because mom knew I'd at least remember to pay the property tax each year, so the house wouldn't get taken. Neither of them pay any bills, save for their phone bills, so she probs doubted they'd keep the house long if she gave it to them. Well, they expected me to follow in mom's footsteps and pay all the bills there for them. I laughed and told them that going forward they'd be paying rent and all utilities if they wanted to stay there and they'd need to keep the place clean or they were out. They flipped their crap and screamed that it was their childhood home and I couldn't do this. I said the deed is in my name so I very much can. I sent them a letter that basically said they can either pay rent or they'd be out. They refused so I sent them another letter saying they had 30 days to vacate the premises because I'd sold the house. They went nuts, but they didn't have a leg to stand on so they bailed. I've since cleaned up the place, it looked like a drug den and cost a lot to deep clean and fix stuff and I'm renting it out to a nice Asian couple who have lots of exotic fish. Told some friends I lied about selling the house and they said it was an idiot move. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot based on your side of the story, pretty obviously so. Why were your siblings so hopelessly unable to care for themselves? Were they disabled in some way? I could imagine a retelling of this from a perspective where they're struggling with medical issues or medical bills and getting kicked out of their only refuge in the midst of the pandemic. Again, no idea what their deal is, it just seems odd your siblings are so one-dimensionally stupid and helpless in your version of things. Not the idiot. My grandma's sister, my great-aunt, passed away last year and left her home to her. Unfortunately, my great-aunt's kids had taken up residency in the house and completely trashed it. I'm talking burning the carpet by flicking matchsticks on the ground, ripping out the water heater to pawn off, punching holes in the walls, gutting the bathrooms and shower with bare walls, causing heavy water and mold damage, you name it they did it. The house had to be torn down after fighting tooth and nail legally to get them off the premises. You definitely need to make sure you evicted them legally. In my jurisdiction what you did is most likely illegal, not sure how tenants' rights legislation applies to estates here. So soft, potential, everyone's the idiot here, only because they do have rights having lived there for years, and you sent them an eviction notice without following proper legal procedures and lying to them, which from a legal standpoint is almost always a no. There's a specialty ice cream store in my town that makes the most amazing ice cream. It's pricey, but worth it once in a while. Last week I went for some takeout ice cream. I bought a small container for just myself and a larger container for the rest of my family, which would be my brother, mom and dad. My brother isn't much of a dessert person, so when I got home I told him the medium container was to be shared between him and our parents if he'd like. He said he probably wouldn't have any and reminded me he wasn't much of an ice cream and sweets person. I labeled my smaller container R for Rachel and the other one was labeled S. Last night my mom and dad finished off their container. I had only about one serving out of mine yet and I went to scoop some out for myself when my brother came upstairs. He saw my parents' empty container on the counter and said, "Oh, I didn't get any." I said, "Oh shame, mom and dad finished it." He asked if he could have some of mine. I said no because it was expensive and I specifically bought a different container for myself so I wouldn't have to share. He accused me of being selfish. I said he had 9 days, I bought the ice cream last Wednesday. Yesterday was Friday, to have any of the other ice cream and he didn't, and that's not my fault, but I didn't want to share mine because it was a smaller container and like I said, there's a reason I bought myself my own. Am I the idiot? I think not, because he even said he's not a sweets person and he had 9 days to try the other and didn't. My container was smaller and the ice cream place has now, temporarily, closed so I can't even just go get more. I included him in the ice cream for my parents to be nice, but we really aren't the kind of siblings with a great relationship who ever do anything for each other. I assume you're at least teens if not adults. It takes some time to get out of the kids have to share with each other mindset. As an example, when my brother would come to visit on holidays, it took him a while to understand that he had to ask to borrow the car I bought and paid for myself, and he had to respect when my answer was no. I think that siblings are so used to things being communal that they think it isn't fair if you don't share your things that you bought for yourself later on. But you 100% didn't have to buy a container for the whole family. He said he probably didn't want any. If he had said otherwise, your parents might have saved him some. Not your circus. Not your monkeys. I agree with the first part that growing up, some siblings need time to re-establish property. For example, I now go out of my way to tell my brother I bought a thing, it's in the fridge or whatever, he's welcome to help himself. But that's because we use our own money. I won't eat his things and he won't eat mine because we respect each other's property. If we don't want something to be eaten, we also make an effort to kindly ask others not to, and that's that. My brother would have taken the container when bought and left it on his desk, eaten a scoop or so occasionally, and then leave it out overnight, ruining the ice cream. I'd always get so stressed out because I had wanted some, and at the time he and my siblings only came over on the weekends, and my mom would shop just before, and they'd destroy the kitchen and eat everything, so my mom and I didn't have anything left over. Always ticked me off. Thank God I don't live with her anymore. My sister and I bought a house together 2 years ago. I am a 34-year-old widowed woman. My husband passed away in 2016. I have an 8-year-old daughter named Clara. My sister is 26. My sister just found out that she's pregnant about 5 weeks ago. She is not with the father. Since she found out, she has been extremely irritable and just overall not a very friendly person. I think this is due to stress levels surrounding what she is going to do about her situation. I homeschool my child, and every morning at 7 a.m. she has a Zoom check-in meeting with the school. At 7:30 she begins her schoolwork. This morning my daughter asked me if she could sit at the table in the kitchen versus her room desk because she didn't understand the assignment and needed my help. I said of course, and that she didn't have to ask. We were sitting at the table for maybe 15 minutes when my sister woke up and came downstairs for coffee. She didn't say anything to us originally, as she tends to not be a morning person. But after a few minutes of leaning against the counter and listening to me helping my daughter, she said, "I know this makes me sound like an idiot, but can you guys take that in her room or something? I really just want to be alone this morning." So, I told her we will be done soon. There isn't enough room at her desk for me to sit in and help her. She walks to the fridge and grabs her coffee creamer and then turns pretty rapidly and says, "Is this how it's always going to be?" I don't ask for much at all, and I think it's kind of messed up that in my own house I can't even have a say on whether or not I can get some space. So I said, "This is also me and my daughter's house, and your rules aren't going to be held at the highest standard. Especially where you have the entire upstairs basically to yourself. I'm doing homework with my kid and we will be staying right here until it's completed because, like I said already, she doesn't have enough room at her desk for me to sit in. Now if you would excuse us, we have things to do which don't involve arguing over which rooms we are allowed in or not allowed in simply to please you. Thanks." I turn and continue helping my child. She walks away slamming doors and left the house shortly after. She clearly ran her mouth to her other sister, who has reached out to me via text and said, "Hey, I'm not picking sides or anything, but why couldn't you just take Clara into the other room?" Hannah is obviously stressed out, and it would have been nice if she felt her needs were being respected. So, I explained everything. However, even my other sister seems to think that I should just do what my sister asks of me to make it easier for everyone, and said it was an idiot move to basically tell my sister that her say doesn't matter. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Especially where you have the entire upstairs basically to yourself. That pretty much sums it up. Is she seriously complaining about wanting to be alone in her kitchen when she could just be alone in her room? Having said that, I understand what your sister is going through, and I hope everything between the three works out. But in this situation, you're definitely not the idiot. Kitchens are generally a shared space. It's ridiculous of her to demand you leave when you had every right to be in there just as much as she did. Being pregnant isn't an excuse to expect everything to go your way. I get she's stressed, but this is one she should just let go. You've done nothing wrong. She may be in a bad situation, but like how it's for everyone, nothing is enough for anyone to be mean against someone who has nothing against them. Make sure your sister knows that this is your house too. Not the idiot. If she were like this before being pregnant and non-affectionate towards your daughter, consider asking for half money you spent on the house so you can make a better living situation for your daughter, since she could be worse towards you and your daughter after she has a child. There's a girl who I was friends with since grade 8. I ended our friendship around 6 months ago. We're in our late 20s. When I broke off our friendship, I told her that it was due to us growing apart. We are at different points in our lives and don't share the same interests. I rent my own house and work full-time. She still lives with her parents and doesn't work, and it's hard for me to have a grown-up convo with her. She wanted to FaceTime me every week, even though my busy work schedule barely leaves me a minute to myself. Never took no for an answer. FaceTime would be her talking about her own interests for 3-4 hours. I had to take an edible the last time, just to get through it. She could also be very ignorant at times, on top of being needy. Despite me telling her I no longer want to be friends and wished her the best, she is acting like nothing happened. She tries to call, text, FaceTime, and Facebook message me every week. Sent mail to my parents' house with notes asking me to call her, she misses me. I recently got a text from her saying she wants to drop off a present for me and visit. She doesn't know my new address. I called my mom and told her that if she comes and tries to drop off a gift, to ignore her or say I'm not there, don't share my contact info. Mom goes, she's a nice girl and lonely, don't be mean. Call her. It's not like you need to go see her every day, you can talk a couple times a year. I told my mom that I needed to go, I didn't want to start an argument. The day I hear a knock on the door. I hear ex-friend saying she has a gift for me and my mom gave her my address and she knows I'm at home because my car is in the driveway. I was livid. I open the door and she grabs me to hug me and say she misses me. I squeak out a hello. She asks if she can come in so she could see me open her gift. I lied and told her that I was about to leave because I had to get my car looked at. She asks what's wrong with my car and where it's going to be repaired, she can come with me, etc. I say no, I'm fine, thanks for the gift, it was nice seeing her, but I have to go. She asks when I'm coming back, if she can come with me or can wait until I come back so we can catch up. I say I'm not sure when I'm coming back and no, sorry, she can't come. She goes, okay, can we FaceTime tonight? I get in my car and say I don't think I can. Have a good holiday. And left. I park on another street, call my mom and ask her why the hell did she give my ex-friend my new address after I asked her not to. Mom starts yelling and says I'm being mean by ignoring ex-friend, that she's lonely and still lives with her parents, that she needs a friend, we've been friends for so long, how can I be so cold, etc. I just tell my mom, I'm not a kid anymore mom, you can't pick my friends for me. Please don't push her on me. Mom starts yelling that I'm disrespectful towards her and cause stress in her life, that I'm a mean person, then she told me to lighten up and hung up on me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your mom definitely is. Please don't lie to your ex-friend anymore. No more of these gentle attempts to get out of things with her. She either can't or won't understand. It's more cruel to let her continue to believe a lie than to be blunt about the truth. Tell her firmly and clearly that you're not friends anymore and you no longer want any contact. Then block her everywhere. I've been the outgrown friend before at one time in my life and I do feel for her, but your mom had no right to give out your address and man, it seems like your ex-friend can't take a hint for anything. Just to clarify, did your mom know that you were no longer speaking to this person? I think she would have still been wrong to give out your address. I'd find it telling that the ex-friend had to go through your mom instead of just asking you directly first, but knowingly doing so would make her a major idiot instead of just a clueless one. Not the idiot. Your mom is. I recently found out that my mother, whom I had cut off 20 years ago, gave my new address to my ex that I had a restraining order against. I always wondered how she knew where I lived. We had everything unlisted. Just confirmed that I had done the right thing. No shame in cutting off toxic family.